was watching videos of you and Tony Horton and Sean T and Autumn, so I knew very little about the company, but it was really this shake that attracted me, the ingredients that attracted me to this opportunity, coming here to join you. So I think your question, I know you're a 365er, Carl, and on the team calls I always say that I'm a 730er, because I do a shake in the morning, not like I'm trying to one-up anyone, but I've always been a 2 shake a day guy, shake in the morning after my workouts, and usually a mid-afternoon snack around 3:30 before I get home to have family with the kids and my wife. So that's my thing. I love doing 2 shakes a day because I think it gives me sort of stability in my regimen. But your question about why it's important, the human body is super complex, and I think Autumn and Joel and everyone sort of touched on this today, and it's wonderful that this message is being thread throughout the day. But your body needs to have great nutrition. Just when you think about when a new coach joins and they get on Beachbody Nutrition, they probably call you and tell you all these amazing things that are happening. Wow, my skin's clearing up, my hair is growing better. A lot of people will say, and I usually ask for a show of hands, do you all remember when you were first using Shakeology that your fingernails were growing faster? You guys remember this? So I always do this because I know it's a no-brainer. Everyone always puts their hands up. But that's because of the ingredients in the shake.
These results have not been reviewed by the FDA, nor have they been confirmed by an esthetician.
but that's a great point because, very important. But the 40 trillion cells in all of your bodies right now, about 40 trillion cells that doctors have counted, they're all doing very important things.
How did they count 40 trillion cells?
It's pretty hard. It's like they've been mapping the human genome, so they did that. So we know that pretty well. Now what they're trying to do is count the number of cells in the human body, and here's the crazy thing. Sort of like, this is the bad news. All of us are carrying around 2 pounds of bacterial sludge called the human microbiome that you like to talk about, Carl.
Love talking about that.
And those are not our cells. So when we're born, those are bacteria that come into our body, but those aren't even the cells we're counting. That's another 30 trillion that we don't even count. Just the cells that we were born with, it's about 38 to 40 trillion, and they're super complex, and they need to do certain things like cell growth, DNA mapping, something called apoptosis, which is controlled cell growth. You gotta, cells have to sort of self-destruct at some point so that we can grow some new ones. All this requires really intricate, complex nutrition, which is what Shakeology delivers. A lot of other shakes on the market. We've counted almost 800 other shakes, but there are really none, that's why I consider this best in class, that can deliver that complex nutrition, those 40 trillion cells, that your fingernails grow faster.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that was remarkable or noteworthy when you joined the company was that, as attractive, and everybody knows this for the fitness, you came in, I remember our first meeting, and you were enamored of the shake. Like you joined the company because of the shake. And honestly, as coaches out there talking about helping people achieve their goals to lead healthy, fulfilling lives, it's very easy for us to go do 80-day obsession, do shift shop, do lift 4, and by the way, get the shake along with it. But really, the underlying value to enhance a person's life is to get them on the shake. And oh, by the way, you can do a really cool fitness program with it. And that's now, and what you were enamored of was the manufacturing process. Because people talk about, oh, the shake's expensive and there's cheaper shakes on the market. But what they don't understand is the difference in price is the difference in value. It's not just markup. It's the process that we go through and the ingredients that we pick. Speak to a little bit about that, about why you were impressed with it, because you've been there, done that, and seen other shakes.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite things to talk about on many of your coach calls, is the 3 steps. By the way, it's a very complex process, but I boil it down into 3 easy steps that you can share with new coaches and customers. Step 1 is, and no companies do this, only us, I should say, we're one of the very few. We do ingredient identification. So Carl, the team, they send the scientists out to the ingredient manufacturers to make sure that the ashwagandha and the rice and pea protein is exactly that which we're buying. So we go there, and I call it the white glove test. We kind of go around the manufacturing facilities, we make sure everything looks clean and awesome, then we check their specifications. Very few people do that. Most shake companies order the raw materials, they show up, they're like, check, okay, looks good, whatever. they're not really looking. Step 2 is we bring those into the blending facility.
And by the way, the reason that's important is suppliers, they want to make as much margin. You don't know what their money motivations are on the other side, so they can adulterate what they send to you. And we often reject raw ingredients that come in because we find out that they're adulterated. They're not what we order. And that's one thing that we make sure is that it's the stuff we wanted, which is why it costs what it's supposed to cost, because it hasn't been cut with some other low price ingredient.
It's so true. In fact, some coaches this morning, we were talking this morning, I talked to a couple coaches who talked about sawdust, how companies use sawdust as an excipient to cut. This is kind of a big story in the news. You can Google it, like how cheese manufacturers were putting sawdust, you may remember this, in the Parmesan cheese. There's about like 30 companies that were caught doing this.
Don't say cheese has got some problem. You're gonna ruin my day.
So
there's a problem in the cheese market?
This was like 3 years ago.
I can't trust cheese!
This was 2015, so 2015.
Oh.
But very important, ingredient identification. We do that step 1. Step 2 is before we blend all the ingredients at the manufacturing facility, we do 60 tests of each batch. Okay, 60 different tests of each batch to make sure the ingredients are legit, it's exactly what they shipped over, and it's safe and effective and amazing. Then step 2, after we blend all these wonderful things, which takes, let's say, a day or so to blend all the Shakeology, before it gets shipped to you, we test 300 times for each batch. 300 individual tests. It's a phenomenal level, second to none in the industry, and you won't find a lot of other shakes that do that. So
now,
that's why you're saying.
And it's not random, and it's not overkill. It's because there are so many steps in the process, so many raw ingredients that come in, so few, like no preservatives, no artificial colors, so it needs to be safe, and we want it to be potent. So we have to test it along the way because we're not bombing it with chemicals in order to have a consistent outcome. We need to test it because these raw ingredients have different crops, different times of the year, different soils, different precipitation. We need to test it to make sure it lives up to the potency. That's expensive, but that's why it works. That's why it affects your biology so differently, because you need nutrition to live. And that's what we're standing up for as a company. And that's why, frankly, right, like I said, I'm right in the middle of this, creating this value story in the 1x3x5 group to be able to help you and your coaches understand that when they hear a price objection, when somebody pushes back on price first, that's a good thing, because that means that they're really considering it. If they would just blow you off if they didn't care, the fact that they care about price means they wonder, why wouldn't this cost a little bit more? And we want to arm you with, and we think it's important as professionals, that you are never defensive or caught off guard.